right, everybody. Thank you all for attending. We've got a packed house today. I want to thank everybody for attending our 30-minute webinars. We do these every Wednesday to try to keep our customers up to date on any changes going on within Variphy, as well as just general how-tos. My name is Victor Verba. I'm a systems engineer over here at Variphy, and I'm going to be your host in today's webinar. Today we are joined by my buddy Dre Divac, Dre, I hope I didn't butcher, another systems engineer over here at Variphy. And for today's webinar, we're going to cover how to troubleshoot issues when you're getting no data. That's going to be the purpose of today's webinar. So let's go ahead and jump into it. So we're going to have a quick overview of Variphy. We'll jump into a live demo where Dre's going to guide you through how some general troubleshooting steps you could try if you're not receiving any data. We're going to pause for some quick Q&A, get any questions answered. If you do have questions, please use the Q&A panel in the bottom right. That's what we'll be monitoring for any questions. Then after Q&A, we're going to award one lucky attendee with a $50 Amazon gift card. So just a quick overview of Variphy. Variphy is the preferred analytics and management solution for Cisco collaboration. We provide industry-leading CDR reporting, call analytics, customizable dashboards and widgets, contact center reporting, remote phone control, change management. But today we're going to be focusing on Cisco data and what you could go through if you're not seeing any data. If you have any other questions on any of the other features, please don't hesitate to let us know. We can most definitely take them offline. And before we get started, I do want to make sure that we talk a little bit about our Variphy's Ninja Enhanced Consulting Services. So this is a way of taking a hands-off approach to your Variphy system, where you are going to have a certified Variphy Ninja associated to your account to do all the heavy lifting for you. If you need assistance running reports, or you just need Variphy to go ahead and run some reports, build some dashboards, set up some security in the system, you've got a dedicated systems engineer that's associated to you and to your account. So if you have any other questions regarding our Ninja Enhanced Consultative Services offering, please don't hesitate to ask in the QA panel, or feel free to reach out to your account manager, and we can get you some additional information on that. So without any further questions, let's go ahead and jump into a live demo. Dre, I'm going to go ahead and pass you the ball, and let's see what we've got for today.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dre Divac. Yes, Vic, you did butcher the last name a little bit. I am a systems engineer here at Variphy. So we're talking about no data. Now, what does no data stand for? When we say, or a customer calls in and says, hey, we don't have any data. So most of the time, it's usually, let's say you're running a report that's scheduled and it's empty and there's no data in the actual report. That's one. Or if you go in here, if you go into our call history search page here, and let's say I search for capital X, which is going to show me some data. If I put in a fake number, let's actually do a little more specific here. Let's say you get this, and you know this number is working, you got calls going in, you got this. Well, that's kind of what we're talking about when we say no data. So here's a couple steps that we can go through to check why aren't we getting any data. One of the main things is disk space. So if you go to the top right here to the gear icon, you go to application settings, you scroll to the bottom here. So depending on if you're on our Linux, there'll be a root here, or if you're on Windows, it'll be like some sort of drive. But you can see here, what's your capacity, how much you got there, and how much usable is there. Now, if the usable is, let's say, somewhat low, there's maybe a gig or so left, I would say that would be one of the main issues, because data is trying to be sent to us over from the call manager, and if it's not enough in there, it's not going to populate. And you can see down here, we can actually set up a disk usage alert so you don't run into this issue. So that's going to be our main thing, is checking disk space. If this does happen, then we need to increase the drive space or clear up some space by deleting maybe some raw CDR records, some snapshots, things like that. So we can clear it up for you. Pretty easy on Windows. If you are on the OVA, we do have to run a script to take that new disk space you gave it inside your VM management tool. So that's kind of the biggest one that we see all the time. Now, let's say this all looks good. Let's move on here. So let's go check if the cluster is actually enabled. So if we go to top right here and you go to clusters, CUCM, and if you give us a second here, as you can see, we're all enabled here and all good. If this says disabled or suspended or something like that, there'll be an activate button. You could try to activate it and see what happens. Sometimes it does become inactive or deactivated if we lost connection to the SQL database or your database you're connected to, network something happens there. We can then try to enable it and hopefully reestablish that connection. But if this says good, then the SQL server is processing the data. So the next really thing I think we see a lot of, depending on what call manager version you're on, is going to check the billing server. So let's head over to our call manager here. And we're going to head to serviceability. Give this a second to load. All right, so we're inside serviceability. So if you go to tools up here and all the way down at the bottom, you have CDR management. This is what we call the billing server. Now, we set up this billing server to send the CDR records over to your Variphy server. So here you can see we have one already in here. The IP of the Variphy server, username, protocol, and the directory path. So this is your path of where the CDR records are going. Now, sometimes I've seen where this has been deleted on accident, or it's in there, but we're just not getting data. So kind of the next thing I would check before we start doing anything a little more tricky is, let's just make sure nothing has changed in here. So let's go back to the administration page. Let's go check to make sure the CDR flags are turned on. If that's not turned on, you're not going to record any CDR, and we're not going to get it either. So if we go down here to enterprise parameters under system, and we could just do a find here for CDR. Well, that's time interval. I think I'm in the wrong spot. The flags are in another spot, sorry. But this is actually good to see. CDR time interval, this is set to 1, which is default for call manager, and that's going to send us data every minute. So if that's set too high, that could be another reason. But go back to what I was wanting to talk about. It would be under service parameters. And then you would take your publisher. And then you would want to do call manager active for the service. And let's try this again. So down here, call diagnostics. No, where am I at here? Oh, here it is, sorry. Under system, CDR flag. You want to make sure that's set to true. That's what's going to actually record those CDRs. So if that's set to true, we can move forward. Now, let's go back to the serviceability page. I feel like this is another big one for us. Sometimes call manager, just one of the services kind of gets hosed up. So let's go take a look at that. If we go under tools, we'll go to network services here. And we pick the publisher. Give this a second here to load. Now, we're going to scroll down to the bottom to the CDR services, excuse me. We can see we have a couple different CDR services running. So the CDR repository manager is the service that actually sends us the data. Sometimes, and this is the majority of the time, is this guy gets hosed up. It'll say running, and it's not working. So we usually click this guy and restart it, give it a minute, go check our CDR directory, and make sure that we're getting some stuff in there. Now, the CDR agent is another service that records the actual CDR. So if you're not getting CDR inside of Call Manager, That's another thing we could check, actually. So we go here and you go to CDR analysis and reporting. This is the card tool inside the call manager. And you can go in here and you can search by phone number. A little bit more difficult than with ours, but it does work. And this is a good way to check to see if your call manager is actually recording the data. So let's say you got data in here. It looks fine. Go back to serviceability. Get restart the CDR repository manager. And then we could take a look at, restart this session real quick. We could take a look at the directory that this is going into. So in our case, it should be going into, if I can type today. So if we take a look at like cluster 1, once again, not typing very well. Cisco CDR. Sorry, op verified data cluster 1 CDR. That's the majority, and this can change, but you can actually double check what your directory is. If you go back to the clusters here, and you can see here, these are directories for these clusters that the CDR should be going into. So if we go back to CLI here, you should see, I don't know if this is recording for us right now, but you would see CDR underscore something and some sort of data flying in here. So if that was working, you would see some stuff in here, but right now we're not seeing anything. So after you restart that billing server, they should start flowing in here. Excuse me. All right, so let's move on here. Let's take a look. I think one of the last things, we don't see too much, but it does happen. FTP server might not be running. We usually only see this on the Windows side, as Windows has a separate application for FTP. So we can go here. Let's say we're on a Windows server. We want to make sure that whatever you're using for FTP is running. So right here we got FileZilla, or if it was WinSCP or another program, make sure that's running. Sometimes the boxes get rebooted and some of those software, third-party softwares don't load up. So we want to make sure that that guy's loaded. And when they're loaded, you'll see the files flying in here as well. And if for some reason it did stop on the Linux side, it shouldn't. It would be really odd, but you can do a service, and I believe this is the command, sshd status. And it should say, maybe that's not the right command. Like I said, I don't think I've seen it much in here. SSHD, oh, maybe if I typed it right. SSHD status. There we go. So you type in that command, this will give you an active running to make sure that SFTP, that's what we use on the Linux side, SFTP, and Windows side is FTP. You can use SFTP on Windows as well, but that's kind of the couple things you could check there. So that's our top reasons. If this, let's say, was disabled and you couldn't enable it, then we're looking at maybe another issue with the SQL database, or we're not connecting to it. Possibly low memory, some performance issues and things like that. But other than that, do we have any questions, Victor?
Yeah, actually, we do have a couple questions here, Dre. Let me go ahead and I'm going to leave you as presenter there, although I don't know that any of these are visual. Let's go ahead. We did have a question from Mike. Asked about the Cisco services. Does restarting the Cisco services have any effect on my call manager? I think basically what he's kind of getting at is it gonna break his phones?
No, it's a great question, actually, and I do get this. I do this just to let everybody know. I do this daily for customers. This is a common kind of issue. It does not affect anything with your phones. Anything that's critical on the call manager side is not going to affect. This just affects CDR services, so the service that records or sends us CDR data. So nothing critical, not gonna hurt your phones or take down any gateways or anything like that. But you know, when you restart a service, you always do take a chance of it not starting. That is just a risk that takes when you restart any kind of service. So I've never had an issue this not coming back up, but it's very possible that it could not, and that's just I think everybody should know that when you restart any sort of service, especially on a critical application like Call Manager. But once again, if it didn't come up, it's not going to affect anything that's going to be critical.
Excellent. Yeah, so that's not a critical service. So no, it won't bring your phone. So even if, like Dre said, even if it did not come back up, again, that's still not going to affect your phones. So it's excellent. Another question was from Steve. Let's see. How about if Variphy stops running? Will data still send from my call manager? So I'm assuming he means like if he can't get to Variphy or Variphy is not running for some reason, is the data still going from call manager?
Oh, gotcha. Okay, yeah. So it would, and this just depends on what's down, I guess, on the Variphy side. Let's say you could get here, right? We could get to Linux, but the service wasn't running. Then yes, we would still be able to get that data because the service is just another service that runs on the Linux OS. But everything would still be coming into this. It just wouldn't be processed if that service came back up. If the server was down and you couldn't get to here, then we would not be getting that data. Same on the Windows side. If we stopped the Variphy service here, we would still get our data that goes into our directory here. So if we went to here, CDR, let's say Mexico City would be one, we would have records in here. Yes, we would still be getting that as long as this FTP server was running.
Excellent. Another question for you, Dre, and then we had a follow-up regarding one of our first questions. You know what, let's hit the follow-up. All
right.
So after restarting those Cisco services, will I get the missing data? In other words, it sounds like if, I think what they're getting at is when that repository goes down, once they restart it, will they recoup the missing data?
That is a fantastic question, actually. So yes, you will. And there is a repository time period, and I think it's a week that this could be down or you're not getting data, and we would get that data back. Now, let's say it was down a couple days and you're still kind of missing a day here or there. We can do an export of the data that we were missing, as long as it's not past, I think what the default is, 2 months or so. But if you went back to our car tool here, we can actually do an export of CDR records. Can't do CMR right now, but we can pick the dates you want to do. And the furthest you can go back is about 2 months, or unless you change that default value. But yes, we wouldn't be able to lose anything there. So
excellent. Yeah, and just to note off that same line, when you do a dump from car, if there is anything redundant or something that is already in the system, Variphy will remove the duplicates. It can be a time-consuming process. So let's say you have 30 days worth of data and you're missing 1 day. You really don't want to dump the entire 30-day and let Variphy figure out which ones are duplicates and not. But you won't get duplicate data. So just
right.
FYI on that.
I would, in that case, if it was a long period of time, I would probably just do a couple days at a time exports. Just because if you start overloading that database, it's going to take a while to get through those duplicates.
All right. And just as a note, someone did note that they've seen They've seen it keep several weeks of data in cache. In other words, it sounds like when that repository is down, they've seen it keep several weeks in there. It sounds like it will house as much as what car houses. So thanks for that comment.
Great. That's good to know.
And then last but not least, last question here. If my license expires, do I lose data? So if you want to go ahead and tackle that one, Dre.
Sure. Yeah. Let's say your license does expire, which happens. Sometimes you forget and you don't do it. No, we won't lose any data. The data will still come into our into the directory. It just, if you didn't have a license, you just wouldn't be able to log into Variphy to do any work in there. But we would not lose any data. Nope.
Excellent. All right, and if anybody has any other questions, by all means, go ahead and hit us up in that Q&A panel. I'm going to go ahead and steal the ball from you, Dre.
Yes, sir.
All right, excellent job as always. Thank you very much. And again, if you have any other questions, please hit us up in that chat panel. Now, let's go ahead and congratulate Nikita Sood, and I hope I'm not butchering that last name like I did Dre's. Nikita, you are our winner for today's webinar. So we'll go ahead and have your account manager reach out to you and make sure that you get that $50 Amazon gift card. Thank you very much for attending. And then last but not least, everybody, hey, we want to thank you all for attending today. We're hoping we're able to shed a little light on how, we troubleshoot some of those no CDR issues. It doesn't happen often, but sometimes things are just out of our control. Please join us for our next upcoming webinar. We're getting ready to release our Cisco Cube reporting. So we are looking forward to that. That will be a new feature within Variphy. So we're going to talk a little bit about the reporting capabilities as well as how to set that up. So we are looking forward to that. And then as always, and of course, in Variphy, we're always improving our applications. The next thing we're just getting ready to go into EFT release 4. So if anybody is interested in working with us, we are getting ready to release our cloud-based solution. So Variphy in the cloud. We've had a lot of requests for this. And if anybody is interested, please reach out to your account manager. We'd be more than happy to work with you and discuss some of our cloud solution. But on that note, thank you guys, everybody, for attending. We really appreciate the support here over at Variphy. We're hoping we're able to help. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.